Hello, I'm the awesome nostalgic Pharoah King guy, here to check out cool stuff anywhere. Smurfin' Ever After High. Yeah, this is without a doubt one of the greatest franchises that Mattel has ever done here. And that people have fell in love with this franchise as well as DC Superhero Girls and Monster High. Some of you were enjoying the rebooted Monster High flick, Welcome to Monster High Origin Story. But for the most part, that was fine. But during all that, Ever After High, Monster High, and even DC Superhero Girls were all that entirely pretty good. Why am I on the subject of Ever After High? Because I'm here to talk about its latest installment, Epic Winter. That's right, Epic Winter, not Dragon's Games, because Epic Winter is flippin' awesome. Now, before any of you go all cuckoo for this, or also cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, I'll point you out right now that I literally, really do love this special. It has some cool ideas, great stuff, and it keeps us from loving it. But is this really the last thing on Ever After High we will see on Netflix? We may never know. Yet. But there were some funny, crazy, over-the-top stuff in this special. And incredibly fun too. So, let's look at a flick that has everyone questioning, is this really the ending for Ever After High on Netflix? This is the top of the world and absolutely awesome Ever After High's Epic Winter. We open our flick with the narrators reminding us that an icy adventure was about to begin. A chilling quest in which our heroes must face the bitter cold of an unrelenting winter, brave the icy blasts of treacherous snowstorms. Seriously, how can anybody stand this? You see, down there in Ever After High, it's always hot and sweaty summer. But up there, at the top of the world, it's always winter. For we cut to the ice castle of the Royal Winter family. They also played a nice indoor game of ice hockey. Now I think you see they're on top of the world here. And I love Crystal Winter. She's sweet, cute, and I'm glad she was ready to rule one day without her eyes closed. If Crystal was kind, the two snowy siblings, Jackie Frost and Northwind, were icy in a different way. Jackie was just playing wicked, and Northwind was, well, not so bright. At least there was some hope that Crystal could learn a lesson, and her heart is already filled with sweet and kindness already. But these two? They aren't also shapeshifters. Jackie is sick and tired of everyone using winter for fun and games. Well, they also had a secret weapon in the envelope, for they were plotting to deal with the Snow King, so that they could finally rule winter they had always wanted. We'll get a little more into that later. But for now, you're thinking that they sound like a bunch of usurpers? You're pretty much right on target. So, back to Crystal. She just had won the hockey game with her dad. Did I mention she was a real pro in hockey? Well, I'm talking major winner, completely cool. So at the balcony, her parents talked to Crystal about her being ready to rule as the next Snow Queen, and they had conjured up a beautiful winter rose. Well, thank you for that, Your Highnesses. Now, you're gonna love this. Remember that ever after I had to face the evil queen, the greatest villain ever, and Raven's mother? Well, when Apple had to break the magic mirror to set her free and it was shattered, the glass fragments created a powerfully evil dust. And so it happened that Jackie and Northwind, who were also there in that scene from Dragon Games, just went to stall that source of evil. And that is when it all went downhill. Like the Snow King just freeze tagged his own wife. And so, feeling left out alone, Crystal left the top of the world and visit Ever After High, much to Jackie and Northwind's delight. Speaking of which, back at Ever After High, Fabel Thorne was in a heap of trouble at the Headmaster Grimm's office. Ever since her team-up and involvement with the Evil Queen's takeover at Dragon Games, it had left the school a complete and vile mess. Fabel was punished to clean the whole school all by herself. If you thought Fabel had problems of her own, you should have seen the look on Apple's and Daring's faces. Why? Because Daring's kiss was a total flip-flop down to the floor when he couldn't wake Apple from an enchanted sleep, according to Cutie Patootie Blondie Locks. So, we have a bad fairy doing cleanup duties at the school, and a blonde handsome prince who is not the prince of the red-dressed blonde princess's destiny. Could this whole thing get any more unexpected? Oh yeah, I almost forgot about Crystal Winter. You know, the girl who's gonna be the next Snow Queen who left the top of the world. Anyway, Briar, Beauty, and Ashley and Ella notice all the snow in the school. And who should peek out at them but Crystal herself. And that is when the headmaster announced that all classes are dismissed for the school's first ever summer snow day. Everyone was having fun with it, even Hunter, Kitty Cheshire, Raven, and Madeline. While that was going on, Briar and Ashlyn figured out what happened back home from Crystal, and that she thought she was cursed. But I'm starting to think that they're still having a few problems understanding the bigger picture here. So they went to Baba Yaga for help. While that was gonna happen, Blondie is still dope about her latest newscast because celebrity gossip and weather reports for her was so last chapter. She needed a real news story. A story so dangerous, so exciting, and even full of epic proportions. The kind of story that will have Blondie win the Princess and the Peabody Award. Elsewhere, Rosabella was talking to Darren about him not being Apple's Prince Charming. Okay, had Darren ever considered that he's not the Prince of Apple's destiny because he hadn't earned it yet? I mean, come on. Snow White's Prince Charming was bold, heroic, and selfless. Maybe it would have helped if Daring thought about helping somebody. You know, that wasn't himself. Meanwhile, Briar, Crystal, and Ashley went to Baba Yaga and told her about the Snow King being cursed, so they have to figure out how to bring him to EA High. By throwing a career day celebration, of course. Speaking of which, everyone including their parents are here. even the evil queen. So it did work, as the Snow King had just arrived. Not after he put a chilling yet hairy spell on Daring, because Daring refuses to do the Snow King's orders. I mean, come on. Can't you see Daring's busy? He's trying to cheer himself up with a snow hymn. And also, Jackie and Northwind tagged along, disguising as polar bears to make sure that the Snow King will close the chapter on Crystal's story. Speaking of him, just when things were going well on career day, the Snow King came up on stage and said there's nothing fun about winter, and that he could turn all of them into penguins, because he had just had a better idea. He had put all of everyone on ice. And then he took Crystal's wand of winter, and then turned the whole land of Ever After all icy, cold, and freezy. All according to Jackie and Northwind's plan to rule winter. Now the snowstorm of the century had turns into a massive Snow King tantrum. I bet Blondie had just found her new story and she better take notes. If you thought the winter weather outside wasn't bad enough, it was twice as bad inside the school. If the Snow King wanted to blow us away with his blizzard powers, Blondie and I would like to say, mission accomplished. What's more, Fable had called the fairy moth to clean out the school for her. That was the good news for her. The bad news was that she owed them 200 years of service unless she gives them something else. Also, Daring had just saved the mirror instead of the delivery goose, much to Rosabella's dismay. And Crystal and the girls soon finally learned from Baba Yaga that the Snow Queen was cursed under an evil's curse, to which it was actually a shard from the evil queen's magic mirror. While the cursed Snow King tormented the fairy tale world, Jackie and Northwind continued their treachery. Meanwhile, the girls got back to Baba Yaga's place, and they had Pharoah to conjure up the restored fake library, where they might know a cure to undo the curse. Elsewhere, Rosabella wants to see Daring, only to see that he got turned into a beast, thinking that all this fur had something to do with his destiny. I still know who he is right now, but without his looks, he's nothing. And another thing, Daring Charming does not get hairballs. I mean, no one wants to be a beast, right? But don't worry, I think he's still cool, just in a more furry way. At first, he thought he still got it, but, you know, I still think he's cool, right? Right? Elsewhere, the girls had made it to the restored fake library thanks to Pharoah's magic, where they found the scroll of deep magic, which explains how the evil queen's magic mirror was made. You see, magic mirror glass was forged by goblins out of molten evil pixie dust. Exposure to particles of magic mirror glass can cause kindness blindness. Well, that explains what happened to Crystal's parents. But don't worry, folks, it did say something about a cure. For you see, only the bouquet of the royal roses of the season has the power to undo the curse. So it's like a strong perfume. So each rose was enchanted, as the rose of spring is at the Beauty and the Beast castle, the rose of summer is at Cinderella's castle, and the rose of fall is at Sleeping Beauty's castle, and the rose of winter is at Crystal's place, at the top of the world. Wait, I think I get it now. Winter, spring, summer, fall. That explains a lot. So they had to set out on a quest to make a superpower bouquet? And so it's settled that Crystal, Briar, Ashlyn, Blondie, along with Rosabella, Daring, and Fabel, shall be the Fellowship of the Bouquet of the Royal Roses of the Season. Or maybe just the Fellowship of the Bouquet. So the Fellowship began their quest, traveling in style on a newly improved sled, with Daring carrying the front, and in their newest style sparkly dresses, for their first stop at the Beauty and the Beast castle. Unaware that Jackie and Northwind are following them, not wanting Crystal to foil their plans. So the Fellowship made their first stop at the Beast's castle, where the Rose of Spring is held, but it's not in season. So they have to wait until spring, but spring isn't coming. We're doomed! But Fable had just had some magic on her sleeve, for she had just made it all spring and all the roses began to bloom. And there was a little scene with Daring and Rosabella. And so, the Fellowship had achieved the Rose of Spring. Their next stop is Cinderella's castle, where they must find the Rose of Summer. Along the way, they picked up Jackie and Northwind and continued on, where they went the hard path to get around Cinderella's castle. And that is when they now Smurfin realized that Jackie and Northwind put a curse on Crystal's dad. No, you think? Good God, do these two ever give up? Jackie and Northwind have got to be the worst set of villains this special has given us. They're like Yzma and Kronk already. Have you ever listened to Jackie's voice acting? It's so rad and bad, and I don't know what else to describe. But the Frost Twins soon blocked their path by causing an avalanche. But the girls and Daring had a better idea. It a result of Crystal making an icy ladder to the top, and they all rode down to Cinderella's castle. As a little roller coaster. And Daring had a little splinter in his paw. As they made their way inside, the girls went to Cinderella's closet to find the rose, but it's not here. Elsewhere in the castle, Rosabella fixed up Daring's injured paw, and Daring begins to like Rosabella's legacy story. And Fabel is still in trouble with the mob fairies. Anyway, the group had found the Rose of Summer, which was in disguise of a pumpkin. And so, the Fellowship of the Bouquet has successfully achieved the Rose of Summer. But, will they also find the Rose of Fall in Sleeping Beauty's castle? I think we all just found out, as there was only one room in the Tower Castle where there was something far more important to the story of Sleeping Beauty. The spinning wheel! Dun dun dun! And look at Fable. smirking and smiling like that. I think I'm beginning to love her already. They finally achieved the Rose of Fall. And just when they were about to leave, Jackie and Northwind came in and put them all to sleep. Okay, now this is where the very bad news part goes forever after. It would appear that Jackie and Northwind had finally won. As soon as they pried the Snow King's staff from his cold, sleeping hands, they have all the power over winter and the world. Meanwhile, like the Snow King, the Fellowship had fallen into a deep sleep. But at least it did lead to a pretty well good musical number in this dream sequence. And that's when the vision came to Crystal, as she now realizes that the last rose, the Rose of Winter, was at her home the whole time. So now the Fellowship are awake from the ancient sleep and went to the tornado that'll be their way to the top of the world. Is this special, exciting, or what? How's that for a story for you, Blondie Locks?